Alright, welcome to my battery cover workshop here. What we're going to be doing is building a box right behind this staircase to cover these batteries. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and measure out all of my dimensions that I need. And I usually draw them in a little book, and it gives me a little better idea of my dimensions here. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure out the top of the box here. And I lay out my measuring stick, and I'm going to mark off all the little locations that I need for measurement. And I really like to use a square just to make sure that all of my corners are going to be 90 degrees. So I'll mark them off with the square, and then I'll go ahead and make my measurements for the other sides. So this is actually going to be the short side here that I'm measuring out for the top still. And I measure out both sides, make a mark, and then I'll take my measuring stick, put it across both marks, and then draw a line straight down. Alright, and get that straight down. The next thing we do is go ahead and work on the front. I'm going to use the same procedure, working on the front of the box, and get all this drawn out here. And I'm showing you right here. You can't really see the book, but I'll get my little spots marked here, and then run my ruler down both sides again and get that marked off as well. Right here we go. Get that marked. Be the front and the top of the box, and I'm going to go ahead and get these cut out. You want to be really careful with your saw. Make sure you get a really good straight cut. Just take it nice and slow. Don't push the saw too fast. Now I'm going to start measuring for my overlap and my wood plug holes. The plug holes, what I'm doing is I'm countersinking the, well, not necessarily countersinking, I'm actually hiding the screws. So what I want to do is drill about halfway through with a Forstner bit. I'm using 3/8 inch Forstner bits for this. Alright, and I want to make sure all my holes are even across the board, and I want to make sure my overlap for the top section here is right too. So it's about 3/4 of an inch, a little less than 3/4 of an inch here. So I'm using a 3/8 inch Forstner bit, and I sink it right to the top of the Forstner bit, and it seems to be perfect for me. Alright, clean that up a little bit and go ahead and get the rest of these drilled. So now I have nice 3/8 inch holes to put my screws through. And the next thing I'm going to want to do is go ahead and start prepping these holes for the screws. So I need a bit that the screw is going to go through really easily. Because it can go right through the top of these. So I'm going to go ahead and drill out these, and I want to make sure I put a backing behind the board so that it doesn't splinter out the back side. I'm using a really thin backing. You can't really see it, but it's keeping my board from thinning out the back side, or splintering out the back side, excuse me. Alright, go ahead and get all these finished out right down the center of them. And now my screws will be able to pass right through. Alright, so now I want a drill bit that's a little smaller than my screw. I need enough of the screw to bite. So I'm going to go ahead and drill, set my pieces up and drill through the holes so that they're marked perfectly. Once I've got them holes drilled, I can go ahead and put in a couple of screws just to hold it in place. So now I've pretty much just got my front and top of the box here together. These screws are just holding together just temporarily, so you don't need to put in all your screws. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut my sides, and it's going to be much easier to measure my sides out now that I've got the front and the top together. So now I can just put it right on the corner, mark my corners here. And once I've got them marked, I use my square and go ahead and get my angles and all my sides here marked off. Alright, now that I've got them marked off, I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. And just go ahead and set it right up in that V. As you can see, it's a nice 90 degree. Go ahead and put some screws in here. Again, this is temporary, so you don't need to put in all the screws. I just put in just enough to hold the box together. And I'm going to do a test fit of the box. Well, once I've got the test fit done and everything fits right, I'm going to go ahead and pull it apart, and I'm putting in some air holes since this is a battery box. And I want to make these look really nice, so I'm going to route the inside of them as well. Go ahead and sand everything. You want to make sure everything's really good and sanded, so I'm going to go through, sand all the pieces of the box. Once I get everything done that I can do with the machine, I go ahead and start working with the sanding with sandpaper. You don't have to use new sandpaper. I have some leftover stuff that's wore out from the machine, so I go ahead and use my hand to use that. Then I can use whatever else I have in my toolbox here to kind of get these little details that help. Okay, once I've got all my sanding done, I'm going to get everything wiped off, and the box is together. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cover my screw holes with the wooden dowel. So what I'm doing is using a 3/8 inch wooden dowel. Put some wood glue in the hole, and then go ahead and stick it in. Make sure you get the wood glue all the way around, and use a cut-off saw that's really flat so you get a flush cut, and then just saw it right off. The pull saws work great and gives you a great surface, and then all you have to do is sand it right after that. How I made the wire hole here is I used a Forstner bit, drilled the hole, and then I just used a jigsaw and cut out the ends and then routed the corners. I went ahead and routed the corners on the whole box, and as you can see, I've got my dowel holes in here as well, covering the screws so you don't see any of the screws. Where I showed you was just a extra piece of wood that I had to show it since I didn't record actually doing the box. All the holes are routed, and then all you have left to do is varnish. Alright, and here's the finished project. I went ahead and put a strip of wood back there to help support the front for the added weight for the storage stuff that the owner may be putting on. He only wanted one coat of stain and one coat of varnish because as he's going to finish it out. It fits really nicely. It looks really great. If you'd like to learn how to varnish, please click on my varnish video in my channel. And thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe, and good luck with your project.